Welcome to the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm Kyle McKeown. You can find me on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA. This is a special live podcast that we're doing. It's just me. I'm doing an Expert Leagues draft right now. It's just about to start. Got my rankings pulled up. In here, the first overall pick is about to get taken. This is a 12-team draft. It's a head-to-head league. Anthony Davis just went off number one. There are 12 experts from different sites in here: Fantasy Alarm, Fantasy Basketball Daily, Roto World, just a bunch of different sites, Baller Mindframe, Eric Ong's in here. So tons of different experts in here doing a head-to-head draft. Steph Curry just went second overall. And I'm not going to really exhaust you with too much conversation during this, probably, other than to just try to observe, see what guys are doing, and then share weird strategy that might come up. Chris Paul just went third overall to Dave Gowron's team that is being handled by Randall Dean. Interesting pick, Chris Paul at third, especially in a head-to-head league. You know, we talk so much on the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast how much we think that you should punt and use a punt strategy. So when we're talking about our first 3 or 4 guys, we're always talking about DeMarcus Cousins and things like that. He hasn't gone off the board yet through the first 5 picks. I've got the 11th pick, so I still got a little bit of ways to come. But James Harden went 4th, good pick. Kevin Durant went 5th, good pick. Obviously, you're not going to make a bad pick here. I do think it's just terribly interesting that Chris Paul went 3rd overall. Usually you see Chris Paul go a little bit later in the first round of the draft. LeBron James just went 6th, followed by Russell Westbrook. This is pretty chalk. And we got a Roto World guy up. A lot of the guys over there really have been huge on Kawhi for the last couple of years. Justifiably so in certain respects. I'm not as big as Kawhi because I talk so much about the punt strategies that we use. So we'll see what Ryan Naus does here with his 8th pick. I've got the 11th pick. A lot of people hate picking at the end of the first round. I like the quick turnarounds. Gives you time to think about who you want to add to your team coming up. Probably what I should be doing right now is figuring out who exactly I'm going to take. So I should be filling up my draft queue up here in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to go and put DeMarcus Cousins up there. We all know he's not going to fall to me, though. So I'm going to start looking at other guys who stand out to me as elite players that I want to add to my team. You won't see me referencing the rankings a lot during this because I'm pretty confident with who I want at most parts of the draft. And once you get to know kind of where people go on a certain site, whether you're drafting on Yahoo or ESPN, you just kind of get into a groove. You know who you want to get into your queue, who you're looking at and targeting with each round. So it becomes less of a reliance on the rankings. The rankings are a great way to serve as a guide for you, though, more than anything. All right, so just one away from my pick. I still got Paul George and John Wall available in my queue. DeMarcus Cousins just went with the 9th pick. And I was right, the Roto World guys, Ryan ended up taking Kawhi Leonard at the 8th pick. Now we got Al Horford going off at the 10th pick. Not too sexy of a pick. We know that Yahoo has Al Horford as, I believe, the 10th overall player, whereas ESPN has him as the 48th overall player. If that is solely because Al Horford's good at turnovers, that's really concerning and just weird. Another player to consider taking here, Damian Lillard. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, sugar plums. You know what? Got to get my elite scoring. So I took Paul George there. I probably could have, or probably what the more studious move would be to say, okay, Paul George is going 22nd overall on Yahoo, whereas John Wall's going 15th. I should have just took John Wall because there's probably more of a likelihood that at my 14th pick here coming up one more pick that Paul George would be sitting there than John Wall. But we'll see what Fensty does here. There's going to be a little bit of dead silence, more so in this podcast since I'm doing it alone. And I'm drinking this really nice stomach-easing tea right now to help me with my stomach problems. So every once in a while, I'm going to pull my face away from this microphone and take a sip out of that. It's delicious, kind of. I much prefer green tea. LaMarcus Aldridge, 13th. I only don't like some of these picks because it's a head-to-head league. And LaMarcus Aldridge at 13th, he's just going far too high on Yahoo right now due to the fact that we know his stats are going to taper off in San Antonio. He's not going to get as many shots. He's not going to play nearly as many minutes. So it's a weird situation here. Now I have to think, all right, who's going to be, because my pick isn't until the end of the third round. Who's still going to be there? This is a tough one. But John Wall is possibly the best elite assist guy. I'm just gonna have to hope that Andre Drummond falls that far to me. It's not gonna happen though. I mean, the end of the third round in a head-to-head expert leagues draft, I don't think Andre Drummond's gonna fall to me at the 35th pick. So I'm probably gonna end up getting stuck taking Derek Favors or something. It's good to know that stuff's coming up, or to have a perception of it sometimes, because you kind of insulate yourself, or you protect yourself from feeling like you're getting burned all the time. So, all right, who else should we be looking at here? I got John Wall, I got Paul George, so I know I'm going to have to get a big man on my next go, so I'm going to start throwing those guys in my queue. There's no way in heck Draymond Green drops to me. He was in contention at the last pick, so was Damian Lillard. Paul Millsap and Lillard went right after me. So just going to load up all these big men that I like. And I have certain ones that I go after. So if you see me skipping over a Pau Gasol or something like that, it's probably because I don't trust their value this season. Pau Gasol had arguably, I mean, he had one of his best careers ever last year, and it might have been his best fantasy season ever. Wow, I always forget that Yahoo has Andre Drummond ranked at 46. That is a godsend. Here's hoping that nobody thinks that I'm as big on him and that none of these guys are listening to this right now. We will see what happens. Rudy Gobert at 20, Serge Ibaka at 21. Blake Griffin and Klay Thompson went right before that. So there's not too many crazy things happening. You know, some of the guys who are better in rotisserie leagues where you do have to account for every single category no matter what, some of those players like LaMarcus Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard, I think they went a little bit higher than what they should have. Same for much higher than what he should have for Al Horford and LaMarcus. But they're also not completely terrible picks. Like Al Horford's been getting more run at power forward this preseason. He's apparently chucking 3-pointers, not taking a lot of 2-point shots or a lot of those mid-range 2-point shots that Al Horford is known for. And that's interesting. It's interesting to hear that. Obviously we still have to see that come to fruition on the court during the season, but it is very interesting to hear that Al Horford's taking less of the mid-range stuff, stepping out, hitting 3-pointers. And I think they were talking about him doing it above the break as well, which means he's not just posting up in the corner. You know, that's the first spot you hear big men step out to is, okay, let's put him in the corner. Let's put him in the corner and have him shoot there, because that's the most high value. That's the best shot in the game, really. So that's where they put him first and get him to hit that shot regularly. It also helps spread the floor more because you're putting people in the corners and taking them off the curve. Draymond Green just went 24th overall. Before that was Vucevic, Kevin Love, Serge Ibaka. So I still have another 12 picks until it comes back to me. You know, when you're on the bookshelf, one of the bookshelf picks, first pick, 12th pick, 11th pick, like I am in this draft, it really does give you time to kind of sit back and reflect on your team and all that kind of stuff. Sorry about that. I probably shouldn't have burped into the microphone. Oh, yeah. So who am I looking at here? I got Noel, Favors, Drummond queued up, my 3 big men that I like. If I had to consider a big man who's not in my queue right now, I would look to Marc Gasol potentially, look to Brook Lopez potentially. Pau Gasol is still in the running. Al Jefferson, there's been good stuff coming out about him. They're using him in different ways this season, though, which is both interesting and scary. They're talking about less of a reliance on posting up L. Jefferson down on the block, and more of a reliance on just getting him integrated more into the offense by having him running pick and rolls with Nick Batum and things like that. They've been talking so much about having the ball just kind of funnel through Nick Batum on most things. Makes you worry a little bit about Kemba Walker's value as a point guard, especially with Jeremy Lin being there, because Lin's going to get plenty of possessions off the bench. And then if they decide to put Lin into the starting lineup, that's even fewer possessions for Kemba Walker. Just some things to think about. Oh, yeah. Now we got people cussing in the draft. This is a great time. So we had, after Draymond Green, we had Kyle Lowry go off the board. We've had a lot of discussions about him. He had a bad second half last year, but he is trimmed down. He looks great this preseason. Nerlens Noel, he's been dealing with, I think he had a little bit of ankle soreness that was keeping him out of some preseason games. So, but that's not considered a big problem there. And then Marc Gasol went 27th. So, and then his brother Powell went at 28th. So, nothing too crazy going on here. You know, it's the start of the draft. I think in the middle rounds you're going to see guys start to reach for players and whatnot. Kyrie Irving, who's got his return from injury issues, he just got taken at 29th, fouled up by Eric Bledsoe and Chris Bosh. I'm just now I'm the fourth pick coming up here. Still got Favors and Drummond in my queue, hoping that they drop to me. Gordon Hayward is still available, which I just think is absurd. Oh, man. Rudy Gay, another guy who had a heck of a second half of the season under George Karl. Rudy Gay was, I think, a top, I know he was top 20 for the second half of the season. I usually check all that stuff out, all my like past season stats and rankings and whatnot. I use Basketball Monster. So a lot of you guys that listen to this podcast know about Josh Lloyd, Red Rock B-Ball, _B-Ball on Twitter. He works at Basketball Monster, does most of their stuff, their projections and things like that. And that's just a site that it's just one of the sites that I trust the most. You know, you trust what the rankings they're outputting and stuff like that. You see the guys that they've hired over the years and you feel like, all right, they've got a handle on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for a 4-pay site that has a lot more of those tools and stuff, big fan of Basketball Monster. DeAndre Jordan went after Chris Bosh, followed up by Victor Oladipo. And now it's up to me. Mike Conley just went 34th. I am going to get Gordon Hayward and Andre Drummond right now, or Sugar Plums, which one? You know I need Drummond more than I need Gordon Hayward, so I'm going to go Drummond. We're also actually playing this league out, so I want players that I want on my team. Fensty, who are you going to take, man? Don't take my Hayward, baby. I wish I could play music in the background for you guys, so when I wasn't talking, you could still have some chill grooves to listen to. I also should have planned this better and invited somebody in here to ask questions about stuff rather than me just sipping into the microphone my delicious tea drink. It always kind of sucks a little bit being the 11th pick because you got those 2 picks coming right after you and, you know, conversely right before you. It just, you're always filled with anxiety that the guys in your queue you don't want them to get taken. I can't believe people aren't bigger on Gordon Hayward this year. Mark and I might have done too many drugs this summer though, so that might be the issue. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Sorry, I'm just let's all relax and just let's enjoy the team that's being built right now. This is a good time. So I got John Wall, Paul George, Gordon Hayward. I got two rounds here to wait until my picks come back, and then Andre Drummond. So I've got a guy who's going to score close to 20 points, get close to 10 assists a game, a guy who's going to score over 20 points in Paul George, a guy who's going to score close to 20 points, if not more, in Gordon Hayward. Another guy who's going to score about 16 to 18 points in Drummond with just absurd rebounds, potentially good blocks. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty groovy. Hayward went right after me. Rudy Gay went right after Hayward. So love that pick. Nice pick there, Dobish. From Roto Experts. A lot of the big guys. A lot of the big guys in this draft. Dave Gowron from Triple Crown Hoops Challenge. It's his leagues that he puts together. He puts together 3 different leagues. One on Yahoo, that's a head-to-head league. I believe we have a Roto league or a rotisserie league on ESPN, and then there's a points league on CBS that we do. And there's a bunch of different experts in each one of these leagues, and they're a lot of fun to play because you get to play all the 3 primary formats for fantasy basketball. Nick Batum at 40th. Nick Batum is just doing. He's an interesting player this year. And I think that him going 40th overall is probably going to end up being really good value there. So feeling great about him. Hassan Whiteside, we all know what his potential is. The concern there, he just got taken 41st overall. Is Whiteside going to get enough minutes on Miami this season? During the summer, we heard about how he's probably only going to play 24 to 28 minutes a game. We know that Miami's probably going to want to run I say we know probably. That just sounded terrible. Reggie Jackson just went. Derek Favors just went. So that's my queue done. So I'm going to have to start filling that up. But Hassan Whiteside, there's a lot of red flags there. So if you're looking at him, I don't know, man. He's going way too high in drafts for me. There's far too many good players who are consistent, who you're going to get great production out of. I mean, I would rather take Tim Duncan over Hassan Whiteside. And you know what Tim Duncan's going to do. And don't think that this is the year, because everybody thinks every year is the year for Tim Duncan that he's going to not be good anymore. And he's always good. He's always going to get you close to 10 rebounds. He's always going to get you over 15 points scoring. He's always going to get you almost 2 blocks a game. There's just nothing not to like about that. So, all right, we can put Tim Duncan in my queue since we've talked about him enough. But Nikola Mirotic, we've got him at 27th in our head-to-head rankings with only about 28 minutes a game. There is concerns there, just in that we don't fully know what the Bulls are going to do. But I think that's a pretty good bet that Mirotic is going to be a great value if you start taking him now in the 5th, 6th round. Greg Monroe, gotta love that dude. Giannis, Karl Anthony Towns. Towns is going to get run. He is. So I wouldn't be worried about drafting him. A lot of the guys that you see me skipping over, the guys that you see me not thinking about, not really worrying about, it's just that there's something about them that tells me that takes confidence away from them for me. Wesley Matthews, his Achilles. Dwayne Wade, he's Dwayne Wade. He's always got knee issues. I don't care how good he looks on one night. You know that he's going to sit out the next 2 nights. Isaiah Thomas, he's stuck in his ceiling is only so high. He's going to be stuck in a backup role. I really don't think that we're ever going to see Isaiah Thomas step into the starting lineup unless that team gets desperate, or unless they suffer several injuries. I mean, I guess it could be one injury to Marcus Smart, so several may not be what needs to be said. But even that, they could still shift Evan Turner over to point guard and keep Isaiah Thomas coming off the bench. So George Hill, I just don't trust that cat, especially 70th overall. If I was getting him 100th overall, then I would take him based on his potential. He did have some impressive stuff once he was actually healthy last year. Kevin Chandler Parsons coming back from knee surgery. Jonas Valanciunas, we just don't know if he's actually going to get the minutes that he needs to get. I think James Johnson was being ran at center in a lineup the other night during preseason. Like the issue, one of the issues with getting Valanciunas those fourth quarter minutes has been that they don't feel comfortable with him in there against the smaller lineups. And yes, they did acknowledge that, but I just don't believe that. I'm not going to believe it until I see it, essentially. So I'm not going to waste a high draft pick on Valanciunas. He was too anemic, too much of a drain on a lot of nights last year where he just didn't get, he ends up playing 22 minutes and you're just like, what is going on? Really? Arguably, like, the cornerstone of your franchise. Like, this is the guy that you're not giving minutes to. It just didn't make a lot of sense. All right. What else we got here? So I got a pretty good queue built up here. Tim Duncan, Nikola Mirotic, Greg Monroe, Karl Anthony Towns, Alfred Payton, Ricky Rubio, Michael Carter-Williams. I'm not really looking to take those guys in that order, though. So who else has gotten taken recently? Draft results. So since Nick Batum went, we had Hassan Whiteside, Derek Favors, Reggie Jackson, Brooke Lopez, Dirk Nowitzki, Andrew Wiggins, nice upside pick, Trevor Ariza, that's Mark's pick of the day, Dwayne Wade, Danny Green, Marcin Gortat, Goran Dragic, Isaiah Thomas, Tobias Harris, DeMar DeRozan, Monte Ellis, Brandon Knight. 2 more picks until I'm up. Let's see here. Along the way. Scrolling through to see who else I want to add to my Myers Leonard. I got to get him on there. And Emmanuel Mudiay. And Jahlil Okafor. You know that we like Marcus Smart in head-to-head leagues. Got to have him on my queue. CJ McCollum. All right. So looking at who I want to take right now, I feel like I gotta take my boy Mirotic. I don't usually get him in leagues, but you love what he gives you across the board. So there's really not a stat that he doesn't contribute in. I think assists is probably the one. It's probably the one place where he doesn't really help you. Yeah. So projected stats, 2014. I like looking at the 2014, 2015 stats, to be honest. Projected stats, you don't know where they came from for the most part, from site to site and all that kind of stuff. All right, so following my Mirotic pick, Monroe and Alfred Payton went off. They were 2 of my other picks that I was looking at getting. Can I wait until pick 83 and 86 to try and get my other point guards? I'm going to... Oh, sugar. I'm not going to... Mirotic. I got Drummond, Mirotic, John Wall. Oh, Townsy. You know what? Ride or die. Let's see what happens. So essentially what I determined is that I've already got John Wall on my team. Gordon Hayward's going to give me pretty decent assist. I don't love the big men later in the drafts, but I do feel like you can get good guards later. And I'm just going to hope that Ricky Rubio and Michael Carter-Williams potentially fall to me. If they don't, you still got Mudiay sitting there. So not a huge worry. Marcus Smart still sitting there. There's some decent assist guys that you can target a little bit later. And here's the one thing. Like, I'm looking over here on the left, and I see Eric's up at Baller Mindframe at the 64th pick. But over on the right side, in the draft queue, you're actually still at pick 48 as the top one. So there's guys who've been getting drafted who are lower in the rankings and things like that. I don't think there's a guarantee that people are going to be fixating on Rubio and Michael Carter-Williams. I tend to fixate on those guys a little bit more than other people, because a lot of people look at these guys and they see them for their warts and not for what they're good at. And the potential for Michael Carter-Williams to contribute great across the board stats as he continues to grow as a player, as he now has a season where he's coming into the league healthy. Whereas last year, Carter-Williams was coming in, he came back early from shoulder surgery. That's not going to be the case this season. He's also had more time to acclimate himself to playing with his teammates, who are concrete teammates. They actually are going to stay on the team. Whereas his 2 years in Philadelphia, from game to game, you didn't know who the heck Michael Carter-Williams is going to be playing with. This guy has had no consistency in his career, and I think you have to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt for that situation that he's been stuck in the first 2 years. And considering that situation, Michael Carter-Williams has done all right, especially for head-to-head leagues. He's not somebody I generally target for rotisserie leagues, because you look at his field goal percentage and you want to strangle yourself. Yeah. Just some thoughts. Don't actually strangle yourself. Imagine that would be hard. Well, not if you used, like, a tool. So, sorry to go that way. So let's see who got taken after my Karl-Anthony Towns pick. We saw Dwight Howard go off the board, Kemba Walker, Tyreek Evans, Jonas Valanciunas, Zach Randolph, Danilo Gallinari. All good guys, all players who are probably going to have good seasons. Robert Covington, he's supposed to be locked in as the starting small forward this season for the Philadelphia 76ers. And they've said they're not going to be looking to, just churn different lineups every night this season. They're looking to actually start to establish who they are, what they are, and to get their guys regular minutes. So along the way, Chris Middleton still sitting there. I think that's really interesting. I like Middleton more than I like DeMarre Carroll this season. I think you're going to get more scoring. The Milwaukee Bucks have been steadfast in trying to get Middleton to do more things, put the ball on the floor, all this kind of stuff. It hasn't always looked good over the last year, but that might start come to fruition a little bit more this season. So Chandler Parsons, let's see, who else went off? After Covington, we saw, after Lord Robert Covington, we saw Kyle Korver. Kenneth Faried come off the board. Chandler Parsons, I don't want that risk on my team, man. There's too many good players available rather than to go after Chandler Parsons for your 1-year leagues this season. Michael Carter-Williams just went, you jerkwads. But Okafor had went, and I can probably just look at draft results. That'd be smarter. DeMarre Carroll, Chris Middleton, as we were just talking about, Al-Farouq Aminu, very nice pick as in regards to his potential to contribute in the defensive stats and good rebounds, and then whatever else you might get out of Aminu in points this season, in three-pointers, those will be a little bit more erratic than his rebounds and his defensive stats. Drew Holiday went. He's not your standard injured stash guy. Holiday's going to be playing a little bit. I don't want a guy who's playing 15 minutes on my roster. And if he's going to play 15 minutes for the first two months of the season, I don't want that on my roster this season. If you were playing in a keeper league with contracts and stuff, and you're able to get Drew Holiday on a really cheap contract, stash him away, that's completely different. But for a 1-year league where it's a snake draft, I just don't see the point in wasting a pick on Drew Holiday at this point in your draft when you've got a guy like Michael Carter-Williams going off the board right after him. Joakim Noah, Thaddeus Young, Tyson Chandler, Kobe Bryant. Now it's on me. I've got Ricky Rubio ready to be drafted. And I'm just going to follow up Rubio. We'll see here. I got to wait 2 picks. But considering Myers Leonard, Moutier, Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum, it's always good that even though you got a queue of players, to go back and make sure that nobody's going at too big of a discount on the draft board. George Hill's at the top of the draft board right now. Darren Williams is sitting at 78. JJ Redick. Redick does two things, man. He scored 15 points a game last year. He gave you 2 3-pointers a game. But there's a lot more mouths to feed on that Clippers team this year. That might mean less shots, less minutes for Redick. If he was averaging 13 points a game, would you really want him on your team? You can always find somebody who shoots 3-pointers at the end of the season. You can always find somebody on the waiver wire who shoots 3-pointers, especially in standard 10 and 12 team leagues. It's just not worth investing too much in these guys who are only 3-point guys for head-to-head leagues. I just don't see how they really help you out. I'd much rather get a high assist guy like Rubio or something like that, or get Bradley Beal who has more upside. Beal's actually ranked 3 spots after JJ Redick on Yahoo. Eric Gordon is in a good position this year. All right. Do I want Myers Leonard? Honestly, Myers Leonard is going to be very similar to Nikola Mirotic this season. I think those guys' profiles are extremely similar. You might get more points per game out of Mirotic when it's all said and done, but you're probably going to get better percentages out of Myers Leonard. So something to consider, especially shooting from the field. Although, whoa, Stanley. Okay, following my number 86 pick at Moutier, Derrick Rose went 87th. Stanley Johnson just went 88th. Oh, Eric, you're crazy. I love you. Stanley. Stanley Johnson going in the freaking 8th round. Crazy. What do we got here? Yep. Dang. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, you look at my draft queue, Myers Leonard, Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum. I really only value Myers Leonard more than I value Stanley Johnson right now. Favorite. Eric Ong in here from Baller Mindframe just said, Stanley's the dark horse rookie of the year there, baby. And I said, rookie of the year? Dark horse, man, he's favorite. Karl Anthony Towns, Moutier, those two guys probably have the inside track on the rookie of the year. It just depends on how much they actually produce, how much they get Moutier is going to have the ball most of the time. And you know what's been fun about Moutier? In his last game against Golden State, he looked really good working off the ball. He was getting away from his defender, getting tons of space so that when he got the ball, he could make decisions with the ball to either go to the rack, and he had some crafty moves to the rack where he faked out guys with fake passes, ball fakes. Good times, man. Moutier is a lot of fun to watch. Ty Lawson, 90th. You got Derrick Rose, Stanley Johnson, Terrence. You got some interesting guys going before Ty Lawson. Ty Lawson was second in the assist-to-turnover ratio last season, behind only Chris Paul. He's going to be good on this Houston team. He's played next to good players before. He played next to a big scorer before. Didn't he? Or wait a minute. Yeah, Ty Lawson played next to Carmelo. I don't know if they were that probably wasn't during. No, that wouldn't have been during Lawson's actually his starting time though. So that's not a good example. I'm sorry about that. I got a little excited thinking I was smarter than I am. All right, so Myers Leonard, Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum sitting in my queue. Let's take a look at my team really quick to see what I got. I got John Wall, Paul George, Gordon Hayward, Nikola Mirotic, Andre Drummond, Karl Anthony Towns, Ricky Rubio, Emmanuel Moutier. I've got 3 guys who are potentially going to be elite in assists this year: John Wall, Ricky Rubio, and Moutier. I got guys who are going to score in Towns, Drummond, Mirotic, Gordon, Paul, George, and John Wall. I got a good blocks guy in Drummond. Karl Anthony Towns is going to be about 2 blocks a game, at least a block and a half. You're going to get probably a block out of Mirotic this year because he's going to be playing more minutes per game. You're going to get the occasional block out of Gordon Hayward and John Wall. So feeling pretty good there. You're going to get good steals from Ricky Rubio. You're going to get good steals from John Wall. Good steals from Gordon Hayward. Great steals from Paul George. I'm not going to be Not too worried about the steals department right now. Mudiay, he's a 6'5" point guard. He plays the passing lanes a little bit. He's been aggressive on defense in the preseason. He's had great energy. I'm not really, everything looks good there for Mudiay. There's the potential for him to be somebody who contributes in steals as well. And even though his shot looks broke as all get out sometimes, there's a confidence in Emmanuel Mudiay's shot that he's not afraid to take those 3-point shots. He's not afraid to put everything into it and launch, and that's been fun to watch because it makes you feel like, okay, he's probably going to take enough 3-point shots to hit about one a game at least. So he's going to be contributing there. The biggest thing you're looking for from Mudiay, though, is just I'm not drafting the kid in rotisserie leagues because I'm not trusting his percentages. I think he's going to shoot horribly from the field overall. Don't know what he's going to do from the free throw line really, but as far as what you want out of Mudiay is just his potentially elite assists, because there's Jameer Nelson there behind him. There's Eric Green. There might be one other point guard there, but none of these guys really matter. They drafted Mudiay to put him in a position where he's going to be the man there, running the team and figuring stuff out. So CJ McCollum ended up getting drafted. Let's take a look here at what's happened recently. After Ty Lawson, we saw Roy Hibbert, Wesley Matthews, John Henson, Gorgie Jang, Darren Williams. I don't like Jang this season just because he seems stuck in a backup center role on that Minnesota team. Nemanja Bjelica, he's going to probably get tons of minutes at power forward he's a rookie, signed from overseas by Minnesota. He's probably going to get Bjelica. Rhymes with pizza, I believe somebody told me. He's going to get, and I'm dead serious, Bjelica is going to get minutes at power forward. Oh, Myers Leonard just went. Eric, I hate you. So, all right. Gonna do a quick look. All right. D'Angelo Russell is worth consideration. Nurkic is still there. Marcus Smart, Jordan Clarkson. Trey Burke, Otto Porter. All right. Ooh, Mason Plumlee. Here's what we do. I'm taking Mason Plumlee because I think people will have their eye more on Mason Plumlee than they will on Marcus Smart. I think people will have their eye more on Mason Plumlee than they will D'Angelo Russell or Otto Porter, or maybe it's just that I'm not worried about losing those guys as much as I would be somebody like Mason Plumlee. Alec Burks, I should put in my queue. Porzingis. Django. Nik Stauskas. It's always fun kind of digging in. Throw Jeremy Lin up there. He's not going to, I don't know, maybe somebody will draft him. Django. Zach LaVine. Ooh, I haven't taken him yet in a draft. That's somebody to keep an eye on. I like putting Josh Smith in my queue. I never take him. Well, I took him in one head-to-head league so far this season. I ended up dropping him for Stanley Johnson. Django. After my Mason Plumlee pick, Ersan Ilyasova went off the board. Ilyasova's in a decent spot, but there's the emergence of Stanley Johnson has really squelched some of the value there that people thought was going to be for Ersan this season. It looked like Ersan was going to get tons of minutes at power forward, but since the Pistons drafted Stanley Johnson, he showed up well in the summer league. They traded for Marcus Morris. It just changed the dynamic of that team. Now they can put 4 athletic guys out on the court with an athletic Andre Drummond. It makes you a little bit more dangerous than having a guy like Ersan Ilyasova, who gets a lot of his defense is in his ability to get in the right position, draw charges. He's not good laterally. He just doesn't have a lot of speed. So you worry that Ersan's not going to be able to guard other teams when they go small. Django. There is no weird Django playing or Django Unchained playing in the background. I just keep saying it because it sounds fun. Auto coming out of my mouth. So now we got to look at Marcus Smart, D'Angelo Russell, or Otto Porter. Gosh golly. I feel like I got to take Smart there. But there's a part of me that's, watching D'Angelo Russell in the preseason, you can definitely see the potential there for this guy to be, oh my gosh, he's going to be a great passer. That's without question. But what else is he going to do? And Russell went right after me. He went with the 111th pick, followed by Ryan Anderson. All right. This is the round 10. It's on pick 6 right now. I took Smart, but I've only got 2 picks left. So let's take a look at my team here. Mo Harkless, John Wall, Paul George. I've actually got more 3-pointers than what I usually get at this time of the draft, so I'm not too concerned with that. I should have plenty of rebounding between Drummond, Plumlee, and Karl Anthony Towns. Then Mirotic is pretty decent at rebounding. Gordon Hayward helps you out there. Paul George a little bit. Even John Wall is a good rebounder for a guard, So, yeah, I'm not seeing much in the way of holes on my team. This is the punt strategy that we use, that we suggest for our head-to-head rankings, is to punt the percentages. So I'm not worried about anything regarding that. It's really just at this point in the draft, got 2 spots to fill. Who are going to be the highest upside players to take? Got Otto Porter, Alec Burks, Nik Stauskas. They've been talking about Stauskas getting some time at point guard. I think that's, in some ways, they'll do this like kind of smallish, biggish lineup there where you'll probably see Stauskas at point guard. It'll allow them to get Hollis Thompson on the court. At shooting guard, you'll still have Covington in there. And then you'll have Jaleel and Nerlens in the front court. You could definitely see that happening. Stauskas, everybody looks at what he did in his rookie season with the Kings. Throw that out the window, okay? Go look at the way that he played with Michigan, the fact that he was a second facilitator next to Trey Burke. There's great potential there for Stauskas to be a guy who can – he's going to be a scrawnier Gordon Hayward kind of. And I'm not saying that he's going to be nearly as good as Gordon Hayward, but that's probably just a terrible comp. But he's going to distribute a little. He's going to, all that kind of stuff. So, all right, let's check in on who else has gotten drafted here recently. Following my Marcus Smart pick, we had D'Angelo Russell, Ryan Anderson, Markieff Morris. Morris went pretty dang late. Jeez. You'd think that people would have been cued into him earlier. I just personally don't like the guy. Tony Parker, Jordan Clarkson, Andrew Bogut, Kristaps Porzingis, like it. Eric Gordon, like it. Patrick Patterson, hate it. Anthony Bennett started. Granted, it's preseason, but Anthony Bennett started at power forward in Wednesday night's game for the Raptors. And he was actually hitting shots, which is something Patrick Patterson has issues doing sometimes. Probably Patrick Patterson's biggest issue, and this is straight from the coach, Dwayne Casey in Toronto, he's not aggressive enough. And that's what Dwayne Casey wants Patrick Patterson to be as that power forward. If he gets the ball, he wants him to actually shoot it from beyond 3-point. Patrick Patterson's default, his first option always seems to be hold it and then pass it. Patrick Patterson's, he's just such a weird guy. I don't know why he hasn't ever been more aggressive on offense. And I don't see that changing just because he hasn't done it yet. So after we had Patrick Patterson, it was Wilson Chandler, Jared Sullinger, Jay Crowder, Luol Deng, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Yusuf Nurkic, Miles Turner. I've got about 4 more picks before mine. really, I mean, there's a lot of guys taking people who they think can be regular parts of their rotations right now. Jared Sullinger, that's a weird pick. He's not even expected to be a part of the rotation. The news may have just not really gotten around though, or people may, we all have our biases. We all sit there and we think, oh, this guy's way better than Kelly Olynyk, so he's gonna play, or this guy's way better than Tyler Zeller, he's gonna play. Well, yeah, Jared Sullinger may be more flashy, but Tyler Zeller gets the job done. After Miles Turner and Yusuf Nurkic and Miles Turner, we saw Otto Porter, Darren Collison, and Brandon Jennings go off the board. I just don't know what crack pipe people are passing around on Brandon Jennings. He's coming back from an Achilles injury, and Reggie Jackson is a starting point guard there, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a starting shooting guard. Like, if you think that Brandon Jennings is going to play more minutes than those guys, you're smoking crack. PJ Tucker just got taken. Now it's on me. I got back-to-back picks. You know what? I don't have back-to-back picks, but I got 11 and then 2 off and then back. I'm going to take my boy Stauskas. I love. There's not a lot of scorers on that Sixers team, and then when all is said and done, I bet Kendall Marshall's the starting point guard there. So if Kendall Marshall's the starting point guard, or even if they start somebody like Isaiah Cannon or Tony Roten, Stauskas might be the primary ball handler on this Sixers team this season. He's the only guy who is a high pick investment. Now they got him for, a bag of peanuts or whatever, but he was a 7th overall pick, I believe it was, just last year. They're going to give him time to play, and a lot of it. And there's going to be potential to get great 3-pointers, pretty decent scoring. I don't know how much he's going to rebound, but Stauskas should get some pretty decent assists. And then you just wait and see what he's going to do in steals and blocks. You don't really expect anything there, though. Stauskas is more athletic than what people give him. He's also, I believe, 6'7". So he's not exactly a small guy. Interesting player. I like him. That's my argument for him. After my Stauskas pick, Trey Burke went. Got one more pick, then it's back to me for my final pick. And then we'll be done here. That's these Expert League drafts only take 50 minutes to an hour. It's a lot of fun because they just go so quick. All right, my final pick. Who do I need for my team? It's pretty much just taking the highest upside guy here. Oh, bitter snips. I don't believe in Zach LaVine, but if they're committing to starting him at the start of the season, so he's got to get big minutes, right? He's got to. And if Zach LaVine gets enough minutes, the counting stats will just fall into place. And maybe he gets better at shooting his 3-pointers over the course of the season. But it's a good high upside pick, especially with the last pick in an Expert League draft. I can't believe somebody else wasn't on the LaVine train. Do I have another pick still? I do. I still have one more pick. The crack pipe got to me. So all right, one more pick. I should have paid more attention to how many picks I had taken. So Alec Burks, Jeremy Lin, Josh Smith. I need to get back into that player queue and see who the heck else I can take, because I do not want sugar plums. I think Aaron Gordon is so interesting this season. I need to check his preseason stats, actually. I only played in the one game so far. So Aaron Gordon, go to his game logs on NBA.com. You can take a look at his preseason stats, which is always fun to do. Oh, Aaron Gordon. And it's loading. Played 17 minutes 2 nights ago. He's 5 of 10 from the field, Had 3 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, and a block. And he's playing for Scott Skiles. Like, he's coming off of jaw surgery, so that's why he hadn't played. So it's not like he's got something wrong with his foot again. It's not like he's got something wrong with his ankles, the way we've seen Tobias Harris be limited over the last couple of seasons at times. I really think Aaron Gordon, when you watch him play, watching him playing in just those 17 minutes the other night, the kid is so active. There's no way that Scott Skiles doesn't fall in absolute love with that and play him, and he just got drafted. Mark, you jerk. Good pick, Mark. Good pick. Yeah, I was just getting really high on him. I wish I would have put Aaron Gordon in my queue, but he's not. He's somebody who I keep forgetting to think about. Marcus Morris. He's expected to start at small forward for the Pistons, and the last 2 preseason games, they brought Ersan Ilyasova off the bench in one, rested Ilyasova the next. So they got 2 games of looking at a Stanley Johnson, Marcus Morris front court or small forward pairing, small forward, power forward pairing. Something to keep in mind. A lot of people like to draft Lou Williams. He's Lou Williams. He'll probably do what Lou Williams always does, regardless of what team he's on and how many mouths there are to feed there. I just don't like it. He's points. He's a couple extra assists. He's 3-pointers. What else? What's his ceiling? How many minutes is he ever going to play? 27? Is that the top? Is that the most minutes he's going to play from game to game on average? I don't want that. I want to try and get somebody who's going to be playing a significant role. TJ Warren, he's in a battle for the starting small forward job in Phoenix. He's somebody to keep an eye on. Alex Len in deeper leagues. He's apparently had a good preseason and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of that is just, where's he going to get the minutes? They signed Tyson Chandler to a big contract. They've still got Markieff Morris there. Even if Morris was gone, are you really going to start Alex Len and Tyson Chandler together? That's one of the reasons why it's hard to like Phoenix this season. It's just you saw them doing so many interesting things for a couple of years, building a unique team that nearly got into the playoffs 2 years ago. And then they trade away Goran Dragic to make themselves more normal. But in doing that, they bring back Brandon Knight to keep them weird. And then they sign Tyson Chandler in an attempt to get LaMarcus Aldridge to come there, which is ballsy and cool in some respects. But it doesn't show the same patience and understanding and intuitiveness that some of their other moves showed. I struggle to understand what Phoenix is doing, and I feel like it could all just blow up in their face because they've got a bunch of duplicative talent that they're trying to make fit into the, square pegs into round holes and all that kind of junk. I wanna know now. Marvin Williams, I just hate you. Mario Hezonja. Django. Shane Larkin started at point guard for the Nets last night. It's 2 games that he started. Jarrett Jack trucked Jonas Jerebko. Jarrett Jack turned the ball over and then went down the court, just absolutely trucked. Threw his shoulder right into Jonas Jerebko last night. If you didn't see it, it's kind of stupid. It's fun to watch, but it's really dumb. I'm looking for weird value. Somebody who maybe slipped through, who I haven't been thinking about, who isn't high in the rankings. Jeremy Lamb. I'm not counting on Jeremy Lamb because they don't know what they're doing at the shooting guard spot right now. In Charlotte, could end up being Jeremy Lin. They were talking about PJ Hairston getting the first opportunity to start there, but he's been sitting out with some kind of injury. Anthony Bennett. That kid's just trying to fit in right now. I want you to shine, big guy. Wanna know now. Reggie Bullock's probably going to end up making the Pistons. He could get some minutes off the bench there for if you're playing in a super deep league. Glenn Robinson III in Indiana. If they get sick of CJ Miles, which we all know is going to happen, could see Glenn Robinson end up getting some minutes there. Robinson's had pretty decent preseason. All right, final pick of the draft. What are we doing here, Kyle? I look around and I say, why not see what Alec Burks can do? Yeah, he's my favorite. I should probably be more in on Jeremy Lin, but Alec Burks looks like he's going to be the starting shooting guard for the Utah Jazz, so a little bit more sold on that. All right, so that's the draft. Yeah, that was about it. Finished out my team. I had John Wall, Paul George, Gordon Hayward, Nikola Mirotic, Andre Drummond, Mason Plumlee, Karl Anthony Towns, an empty center slot because I guess they don't know how to shift players around on this thing. Or wow, I drafted a crap load of guards at the end of the draft. That may have also affected things. I got a lot of guards. Ricky Rubio, Emmanuel Mudiay, Marcus Smart, Nik Stauskas, Zach LaVine, and Alec Burks finished off my draft. So, and those last 4 picks, 12-team league, 156-player pool, those last 4 picks were like, Marcus Smart, I think, is going to have consistent value. Stauskas, like, I think all these guys are going to have consistent value, but I'm also hoping that their ceilings are a little bit higher than a lot of the other guys that were getting drafted around that time. So, yeah, I feel good about my team. It's pretty much a standard team that I would draft. Focusing on what players do well, adding that to the core that I have. And I really I always try to build a core around getting points, getting assists, and making sure I have enough blocks and rebounds and steals and stuff. Just making sure I have enough contributors across the board and all the good counting categories. The one place that I don't focus on is 3-pointers. I don't obsess over it. Like, I will never draft Kyle Korver. I will never draft JJ Redick. I will find my 3-pointers elsewhere. Everybody shoots 3-pointers. I can find those. So that's it. We'll be back in a little bit here. Mark and I are going to team up, and we're going to do a who to draft with Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook. Pretty similar players, actually. So we're gonna be back with that in a little bit. This was the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast with Kyle McKeown. You can find me on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA, and you can visit our site at dailyfantasybasketballpodcast.com. We have free rankings there that you can use. I used our head-to-head rankings for this. I had it pulled up here in case I needed it, in case I needed to reference something. I've looked at this so much that I didn't end up having to do that. But what I did is when I was looking at our head-to-head rankings on the site, I just went in and I did the file and I went make a copy. And now I had a copy over here that if I wanted to, I could have been going through the draft. And every time somebody was taken off, it could have been like Anthony Davis, delete. LeBron James, delete. And then you end up having this queue here. And what you can do too is, you come in, oh, Draymond Green got picked. And then if you want, you just kind of highlight everything. And if you know how to use Excel, you're like, this guy's an idiot. Why is he showing us? But you know what? Whatever. For anybody who hasn't used Excel a lot or Google Docs, I just highlighted certain rows, right-clicked on it, and you can delete the rows. So then you get everything kind of pulled up too. You still got the auction values there to show you the difference between what a John Wall player is and what Klay Thompson is as far as their value and things like that. So some things to consider if you're thinking about using our rankings and whatnot. All right. Thank you so much for watching me go through this mock draft. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good experts making a lot of good picks. And yeah, have a good day. We'll see you in a little bit. Love you. Bye-bye.